welcome back to another episode of the Cast Patrol podcast. We're joined with a special guest today, a man of many talents, big wave surfer, UFC fighter, and Bravoy. Richie Vas, welcome to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Thanks for having us.
Mate, looking very happy, bit of spring in your step.
Yeah, mate, I had a good day, actually. My daughter, she has her graduation this afternoon. She's only 6, but at her school, she's in the one class for 3 years, and this is the last day of that first little cycle of, they call it cycle 1. So next year she goes into the next class, which is 3 to 6. 6 to 9-year-olds. So it was a big moment. So I've come in very good spirits, very a proud father.
Proud dad.
Dad. How good. Well, we'll get straight into it, Richie. We'll talk about Maroubra. You obviously grew up in Maroubra. What was that like? Can you tell us, growing up in Maroubra?
Mate, loved it. Yeah, I feel so grateful to have to grown up in the environment which I did. Yeah, Maroubra. And down by the beach, I'm such an ocean kind of kid. I grew up, and my first passion has always been surfing, and still is today. Nothing makes me happier than being in the water, and whether it be diving, surfing, or fishing in and around the ocean has always sort of kept me on an even keel. Throughout life, and all my mates that I've acquired over the years, and being part of the board riders since I was like 10, and just spending all my time down at McKean Street and Marine Parade, running around and getting into mischief and having fun. Yeah, it was a really special place to grow up, and I'm very grateful to have experienced that as a young fella.
Yeah, 2035. I'm from Maroubra myself pretty much my whole life, but can't surf to save my life, so can't relate 100%. But Maroubra, it's one of the most known things is the Bra Boys, right? Yeah. And for those listening, some people don't know what a Bra Boy is. They have a bad rep, good rep. People don't know. So what is a Bra Boy?
Well, bra is just the last 3 letters of Maroubra. So it all came about kind of around the 1990s when it was a sort of American gang mentality started rubbing off over here, and there was a bit of drama coming in around the beach. So the boys and that group of guys from the beach has been named like several different names over the years, stemming back to the 50s and the 40s. And but like I said, around the 90s, with that gang mentality and trouble coming to the beach, the boys sort of banded together and said, "Hey, we don't leave this area and cause trouble, but if trouble comes, we'll band together and protect our little patch of land and our patch of sand." And that's where the Bra Boys came about. If the boys said, "Well, I'll get it tatted on me," to show how proud and down I am for this area and to look after it. And that's where it all came from, mate. Around the 90s, and then where are we now? Sort of 40 years later.
Wow. Still protecting
Bra
the
Boys.
sand.
Yeah, no, just that community, where we live, and that where we're from, and like I said, there was always lots of trouble going around. So the boys just sort of banded together to sort of look after each other, and the socioeconomic sort of state of the place. A lot of housing commission, a lot of people who didn't have the best family home life. So that became their family and just a brotherhood and a huge community of surfers who are from Maroubra. And the same goes for Bondi and Bronny. They've all got their little surfing community, but ours is, I guess, a little bit more colourful with the name and the idea of a tattoo, and probably a little bit rougher because of that socio-economic surrounding. And like I said, not only in Australia, but you get the same thing in Hawaii and America and all over the world. People are very proud of their little patch of water, patch of sand, little community that they come from. And the Bra Boys came about, and it obviously got a lot of notoriety through the media and the documentary, and a lot of the boys have got in the media and gotten attention for lots of wrong things, which you can't shy away with. There's been lots of sort of negative and media, which has been warranted, and the boy definitely all aren't angels, and some has been very warranted. So there you go. I guess that's why it's gotten such a reputation or such an interest, I guess, when the name is brought up.
100%. And you mentioned the documentary. What can you remember from that?
Yeah, that was just
making all that.
A wild time, actually, in and around the making of the documentary or the lead up to it. With a few incidents like Mark Matthews' 21st, it made national news because there was a big fight with the off-duty police because they had their Christmas party above Mark Matthews' 21st birthday party, and that all
scheduled that together.
Someone didn't was it dot the I's and cross the T's on that booking, but and many instances around that, with the Aberdeen story and Tony Hines and all that kind of stuff. So the documentary was just an opportunity to sort of tell our side of the story because so much of it was being said in and around the media and was very misguided and I guess ill-informed. It was just an opportunity kind of led by Sonny Abbott and Makari D'Souza to put a documentary together about explaining and telling our story of where the Bra Boys came from and the history of the area and the Aberdeen story, obviously, with the Tony Hines murder and all that kind of stuff. No one really expected to do as well as it did, but it took out awards and became one of I think Australia's highest grossing documentaries. So that was huge. It was great for many ways, but also it did come with the flip side too, which I guess the vibe of the area changed a little bit after that, and got a lot of young crew coming down and guys coming down maybe for the wrong reason or took the wrong messages out of the documentary. And for a few years after that, there was a bit of, I guess, it was a strange place down there for sure, to say, I guess, to put it kind of lightly. And a lot of crew, I guess, maybe the generation below me, like the young guys, unfortunately, just maybe because of that attention brought to the place and the idea of what it meant to be a Maroubra, or what I guess just at that age, not knowing how to maybe interpret some of the messages from the film, a lot of them got in trouble, and there's a lot of jail time and a lot of stuff that maybe was influenced from the documentary, or like I said, messages taken from the film that may not have been meant to be interpreted that way.
Yeah. Well, look, you can see like how it went both ways. Like some people go, "Oh, that's what the Maroubra was. That's not what I thought it was." Yeah. And some people, like you said, take the wrong sort of advice on it. But Russell Crowe being the narrator of the whole story, did you ever get to meet him, or do you reckon that helped bring it even more into
for sure. Putting Russell's name to the film catapulted it, it gave it a global kind of credibility. But he came down the pub and introduced himself to everyone. We had got on the pitch, and plus obviously his affiliation with South, and the Maroubra is such a South heartland. It was Johnny Sutton being one of the boys, and Rennie Matu obviously being another NRL player at the time who was on fire at the Doggies. There was so many big characters down the beach, and obviously huge South homeland, and Russell coming down was. Everyone was stoked for him to be so open, hospitable, and just so easy to sort of likable. You know what I mean? Like he come around and wasn't on a pedestal. Just came down and had a couple of beers at the pub and did that a few times. And
any good stories about him that you can remember?
You'd have to ask. I was like just getting the fighting at the time, so I wasn't getting too loose. But there were, I'm sure there were a few nights. I'm probably the wrong guy to ask.
Awesome. Well, big wave surfing, we mentioned it earlier. How did you get into that, big wave surfing?
Yeah, mate, well, growing up, like I said, the ocean was always something I was drawn to. Yeah. My uncle, my mum's side of the family, so my mum's brother, Uncle Mike, he's a mad surfer, like fanatical surfer. He came from Manchester, England, from the housing estates over there with my mum. They both found their way over to Australia. But however, he just got hooked on surfing, and they lived in Avalon on the northern beaches. And from as far back as I can remember, I just always wanted to surf. My Uncle Mike, my cousin Dan, who's the same age as me, like we just loved to surf, and he was pushing into the waves, as soon as I could swim. And then I loved nippers. Down here at South Maroubra, and then I was in the Maroubra Surf Club. Oh, good. So I just always wanted to be in around the waves, and then joined the board rise when I was about 10. My dad, about the same time, moved down the beach, so I had a little unit to stay at. Yeah. And I just joined the board rise and just was just fascinated by surfing, and then just happened to be surrounded by some of Australia's best big wave surfers. In Kobe Aberdeen, like Jamie Reid, Tony Seddon, Matt Howard. Wayne Cleveland, all these guys who were just like, I just looked up to as my heroes, like we laugh about, you grow up with these heroes who are like, who got posts on the wall of people who are like live in another country, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or someone like Floyd Mayweather or BJ Penn, but my heroes were right in front of me at the beach. And they took me under their wing and encouraged me, if you want to come out and try and surf when it gets big, like we'll give you whatever you need. We'll help you get out the back. Here's a board. Here's a wetsuit. So they really encouraged me to get out there and give it a crack. And I was hooked from there on in, and went on an amazing run of adventures, trying to chase the biggest, scariest waves we could. Yeah.
Well, you surfed some of the world's most dangerous breaks. Can you describe that feeling, or what's the feeling when you're out there?
Because I'd be shitting myself.
Yeah. Absolutely shitting yourself.
How tall are we talking these waves and breaks?
Around that time too, like it was really hard to put a gauge on the size of the waves, because it wasn't only the height, but it was just like the mass, the volume of water that was folding over these reefs. Because this term called slab surfing really took off around that time, which was waves that just hit a really shallow level and just kind of just folded over themselves, and just how thick the waves were almost more like intimidating the actual height of the waves, and how dry the reef that they were breaking on, how close in front of rocks they were breaking. So like waves like Cyclops in Western Australia, Shipstones in Tasmania. There's several waves around Sydney that really kicked off around that time. So yeah, it's really hard to put a gauge on that. I'd say like saying the wave's height was never really doing it justice. When there's like several lips involved, and a barrel that might you could drive a car through. It's
2 words.
It was pretty wild.
Fucking big.
Big enough to do some damage. Yeah, but it was amazing. I always laugh about it because I've always been a small fella, and I've always had this small man syndrome, and that's what got me into all these things like big wave surfing, mixed martial arts. Because I'd always just speak before I actually thought it out. I'd say, I would go and surf that. If someone said, you go surf when it's 10 foot, yeah, I am. And the next day it's 10 foot, well, go on then. So I fell out, and the same with MMA, we started doing jiu-jitsu, and I liked a bit of boxing. You can you do it, mate? Yeah, I'll fucking do it, mate, for sure. And then opportunity popped up. So start off as a joke, ended up being a whole chapter in a book I wrote. So it was
that's mental.
That's
Starts from that, just one thing.
Well, I generally, and once you start doing something too like that, and once you start paddling out in big waves, like you said, and what's that feeling like? It is addictive, and then you are shitting yourself, and sometimes I got washed in just like with my tail between my legs, but realised that I survived still, it wasn't as bad as I thought, so next time I'll paddle back out, I might get one, and then you get that one wave, and your confidence builds, and the thrill of that wave is addictive, and then you paddle back out again, and your confidence is a bit higher, and your ability is improving as well, and it's just the camaraderie with mates out there, we're cheering you on, and it's super addictive, and I still love doing that today. I still always watching the forecast, and if the waves gonna get big, I try and clear a bit of work and make sure I can get out there with some mates, because it's amazing, and it's the same with mixed martial arts. I started doing individual components, obviously like boxing and then jiu-jitsu, and then you start trying your hand at building a little bit of experience with it each, and then you start sparring, and then you start realizing, well, maybe competing isn't too big a stretch, and then you try that, and then again it's addictive as well. Your confidence builds with it, and once you start feeling that rush, it's hard to sort of ignore.
Hard to go back. But because I was going to say, MMA wasn't huge in Australia when you were sort of starting out, 15 years ago, I'm going to say now.
Yeah, first fight was
so how
2006.
How do you find your way into that? It's just start from pub scraps into going to it?
Well, that, like I said, that small man syndrome, always felt like I had a point to prove, like I could hang with the older guys, I could hang with the bigger fellas. Even when I was playing footy as a kid, I was always just like a little number 9, but all I want to do was tackle, what I mean?
Were you fast out of dummy half?
Yeah, a couple show and goes, a few little runarounds, a couple of premiers with the Maddo Tigers, so we got a couple of trophies. But unfortunately, like many young fellas growing up, I thought that's what it was to a rite of passage of how to prove yourself as becoming a man, was to go out and get into blues and and never run from a fight and all that kind of stuff. And so that was always I guess I had that little tough guy mentality. I wanted to sort of try and prove myself in all the wrong ways. So then when I was introduced to martial arts through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing, and be able to focus that energy and focus, I guess, that need to prove yourself as a young guy, MMA was a perfect avenue. And then, like I said, I love the training and the introduction to MMA came in such a, looking back, such a great time in my life, because it's when I was getting into trouble and I was, I guess, suffering from that mentality of trying to prove myself in all the wrong ways. Get blind drunk, get into pub fights, get into trouble, go to court, all that kind of dumb shit that I thought was cool. MMA dragged me away from that, and gave me an avenue to still feed, I guess, those urges of that combat, or I guess, the
adrenaline rush as well.
Yeah, and like proving, I guess, you still wanted to, that coming of age, and you want to try and I guess, get attention from people and get recognition, you know what I mean? All those things you sort of are striving for at that age, but MMA just gave me a perfect avenue for it, but it came with discipline and commitment and routine and all that kind of stuff that I was lacking in life, that I'm still so grateful are there now,
Because I was going to say, you trained firstly with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I was going to say, how does that striking game come apart into the MMA? But you sort of answered it.
Yeah, well, I always loved boxing. I was lucky to grow up in Maroubra. It was such a huge part of, of that life down there. You
Yeah.
know, like fights were so common. You know, it was in the days before phones and the days before cameras, and there was blues on the beach all the time. In the pub was just like the Wild West. You know what I mean? I was just there and just see shit kick off, and it was just a part of life, and having scuffles at school or scuffles down at the beach or at parties. It was just no big deal, no big thing. So I guess I was drawn to that a little bit, and then I used to love hitting the pads with friends, and like I said, there was some boxers in our community like Ronnie Reardon who fought for Australian title, and then in my generation there was Kurt Barham who also fought for Australian title, and Kobe Abbott who I grew up with idolising. He was always big on training and being fit for big waves, and he loved boxing as well. So always holding the pads in backyards and garages and sparring, you know what I mean, and thinking we knew what we were doing. So once I started doing jiu-jitsu, I thought like I could do a bit of grappling. I sort of thought I could throw a few punches as well. Thought that's enough to train MMA, you know?
Yeah, 100%. What was the training regime like? You know, obviously in the lead up to a fight, and how did you sort of balance, physical and sort of mental preparation?
Yeah, it changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
As did my approach to MMA and my mentality towards it. I literally when I was just doing jiu-jitsu and doing jiu-jitsu comps like in the gi while Harley doing it, and we weren't doing much no gi. I basically had no wrestling, but like I said, I was a pretty good footy tackler. So my idea was a takedown was just a good old, bootlace tackle, or like get me shoulder into his guts and try
hold him down for 3 seconds, wait for the ref's call.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like a good old footy tackle. So I did a bit of a few jiu-jitsu competitions, so like the New South Wales Federation Cup, and I had a bit of success there. So like I thought at that stage too, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was almost unheard of in Australia.
Yeah.
So, and we came from a really good academy at Gracie with Bruno Pano, who was a direct black belt from Hoyle Gracie. So we thought we were like a little bit ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And we were doing really good as an academy at all the grappling tournaments. So it was basically, just my grappling. And I think I'd just become a blue belt and hitting the pads in my mate's garage, I took a fight at Caloundra. Again, because I'd probably spoken a little bit too soon before I thought out the whole idea of stepping in the cage. Yeah. But, I committed to a fight and then was shitting myself into the lead-up. But, didn't know how it would pan out if I'd walk into the cage and just freeze and get the shit punched out of me. Yeah. But
was it like a proper event?
It was a proper event. Yeah. It was called Warriors Realm.
Yeah.
That then became CFC, Cage Fighting Championships, which was like one of the biggest promotions in Australia at the time. And it was against Michael Mortimer, who's a legend, and I actually fighting him twice, and he's
2 wins.
Got 2 wins, but I was I was shitting myself because he had 2 wins already when I fought in my debut, and he had a bit of hype around him, and I basically just closed my eyes, swung for the fences, and caught him with the right hand, and surprised myself as much as everyone else to win via knockout, and then. Yeah, fought him a few years later, and he went on from that fight to win like 7 or 8 fights undefeated, and then had all these titles in Queensland, and went a rematch. And
that's good.
But like I said, I didn't know how it was all going to pan out, but I got the win, and again that addiction and that buzz and that adrenaline rush, and I was just hooked, and also the training and the sacrifice that went into it. I did take it pretty serious, even in the early days, I trained 5 days a week. I was still going out and making a mess of myself from Friday to Sunday. Yeah. But I thought if I trained from Monday to Friday that I was doing enough. And
even it out.
Yeah, even it out, like a bit of running and a couple of jiu-jitsu sessions with a few pad sessions. Yeah. And of course, as the fights went on, opportunities got bigger, and I took it more seriously. The routine was pretty intense, especially towards the middle of my career, and then into the UFC. It was like I was lucky enough to have some support from some sponsors like Ruka and Rhino Mouthguards here at Clovelly.
I'm pretty sure he lives literally right there, Rhino Mouthguards.
The legend.
He's a good bloke.
Pauline, the best family ever. I still pop in and say good day, and they still throw me gloves or whatever. What do you need, Rich? I was able to focus purely on fighting, where I was that's all I was doing. So it was like between 15 and 20 sessions a week I was trying to squeeze in. At this stage, it was no longer just boxing and jiu-jitsu. It was like wrestling, Muay Thai.
And are you still working full time at this point, or is it just 100% training?
With the help of sponsors, I was able to just focus. And and so I was sort of a little bit of carpet, like if I could fit in, like maybe like a month or two out from the fights. But then as the fight got closer, I just, everything narrowed in. I got tunnel vision, but really I could really just focus on training. So and that's when you're squeezing. I had strength and conditioning, like physio. I had a nutritionist, all that kind of stuff to really try and make weight, which was became a big part of it. As I was into the UFC phase of my career, and it was pretty fun. It changed a lot from the early days of getting pissed for 3 days, and then a couple of days training.
Yeah,
I find it mental that like you enter a ring and you're standing across someone that you're like, I'm going to get hit here. Like me and Jim haven't been in a fight. We fought each other once in year 10. He rubbed me up the wrong way in soccer, grabbed me on the back of the head. I just
kept annoying.
I just tunnel vision.
Kept chain him up.
Turned around, left hook to the chin, and we both looked at each other and went, what was that?
So, he's like in shock. Like,
So like, what is it when you go in there? You just like, I just got to take that first punch and then I'm ready, or does the adrenaline just start fight or flight straight away?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, for me personally, I think everyone's different. Some people fight on emotion. I always found it best if I was as calm as I could be. I was always working on just a few trigger words in my head that like were going to keep me on the game plan, and keep me focused on what I was needed to do. But it is a pretty overwhelming thought that you're standing across the cage from someone. There's no one else but you and him, and he's been spending the last 2-3 months with the sole focus of punching the shit out of you. And he'll be going in front of hundreds or thousands of people to see who comes up trumps. And
he knows you better than you probably know yourself. He's watched every fight, every second, just
and
done the research.
He's corner screaming things at him that things like, you like, they might say something like, he keeps the left hand down. You're like, fuck. Obviously they've been doing their homework or whatever it is. But I was always just trying to keep calm, keep just simple things. Keep focused on my breathing and just keep focused on the game plan. And then once you get in there, and after that few minutes, and once you do get hit and you start to feel your opponent's strength and feel, their movement, you do see them settle in and, get a little bit of a groove and relax a little bit, but it is a pretty surreal feeling, and I'd say it took a while to get used to, and then I'd say I'm never sure if I even totally did get used to it. But there was definitely some fights I was much more comfortable than others, and some fights the head wasn't quite there. Yeah.
Did you have any like pre-fight superstitions or rituals that you used to do?
Not really, but I used to like to try and do like little things. It wasn't like I didn't have a secret like pair of socks or undies. I didn't have any kind of rituals, but I just like to do my warm ups and my little routines properly. I like to do all my little stretches and get on the foam roller and maybe have something to eat, maybe an hour out or just like things, like things that were told to me by my nutritionist or my trainers to say this is what I think will work best, or let's get warm around this time. I'll just try and do all my little things like that. But no no lucky mouth guard or no.
Same pair of underwear every fight.
Sickening. Look, so let's jump to the UFC now, because this is one thing that I remember, because I was sort of growing up with the UFC 2012, 2013. I was just at a normal age that I could start to handle the violence. Parents were like, you can watch it, fine, whatever. And Ultimate Fighter season 16, when it was in Australia, was probably the biggest thing for me. And I was like, this is so cool. The Smashers, the best from the UK, best from the Aussies. Yeah. And obviously you being on it, Maroubra boy, hello, he's spike up. You go, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. We got a Maroubra boy on it. But how do you find your way into that? Do you get a tap on the shoulder after a fight saying, mate, Dana's calling you up?
No, I wish it was that easy. Yeah, it's a hard slog, I think regardless where you're from, any part of the world, to that path to the UFC. Obviously, when I first started fighting, the option wasn't even there, because the weight classes anywhere below lightweight, they weren't in the UFC. So as the years went on, and obviously in and around a few years before that, Smashers Ultimate Fighter series came about, they introduced bantamweight, featherweight, and I think flyweight had just come in around the Smashers. But
so what kilos are we talking for the people that don't follow UFC?
So lightweight's about 71 kilos. Yeah. Featherweight's about 66. Bantamweight's about 62, and flyweight's about 57.
Okay. 57 kilos.
Yeah.
You're almost a jockey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mate, I met a few cutting weight in the saunas too. So, but mate, obviously just doing your best on the local circuit. I was fighting here, fought over in Auckland, fought down in Melbourne, just trying to stay as busy and as active as I could. Just initially just to get bigger and better fights. And then when the introduction of the weight classes went into the UFC, I was like, okay, that could be a reality now if I keep a healthy record. And I was pretty lucky too. I was still surfing at the time and doing my best as like a semi-professional big wave surfer and getting a little bit of a profile in that regard. So that probably stuck me out a little bit different to all the other fighters who were just fighting on the local scene. That I had a little bit of a crossover. Yeah, and then we found out as the whole MMA community did that they're going to do the smashes here in Oz, and the weight classes were going to be lightweight and welterweight. Obviously not my weight class, but opportunity was too good to miss up. So I was fighting out of TP gym down at Caringbah with like Manny Rodriguez and Rory O'Connell, Mike Anderson. We had a really good MMA team, and probably there's a really good gym up in Brisbane called Adrian Pang's gym. What's it? It'll come to me. Integrated martial arts. Yeah. And we were like, so everyone knew about it, and so they set dates when the trials were going to be here in Sydney, and everyone just turned up for them. You had guys, huge guys trying to make welterweight, little young guys trying to make welterweight. No one ever shit about their real weight class. They was give
they just want to make the show.
And if I get a start, and that was just my mentality too. Like, look, I was fighting at bantamweight at the time. I had a few fights at featherweight. I had a pretty good record, so I thought I'm just going to go in, give it a crack, and not die wondering. And we went through the whole tryout process. Went over a few weeks, and I was lucky enough to get a start as a lightweight. Manny got in as a welterweight. Rob Whittaker made as a welterweight as well. So we had a pretty cool side, and got lots of mates from that show that I still speak to today. And it was a wild experience being put in a house full of Aussie fighters taking on the guys from UK, from England and Ireland, and they were a pretty colourful bunch as well. And just that pressure cooker environment too was something I didn't expect to be as hard as it was. Yeah.
So what was the house like? Is it just training, sleep, wake up, training?
Yeah, and they tweak all of that to create drama. You know what I mean? Like it's there was no TV, no reading, there's no other sort of stimulus.
Sort of thing.
Other than like you'd come home from the gym and you'd sit there, you'd eat, and then you could play a bit of pool, or you the fridge is full of beer and drinks. Like trying to encourage guys are getting knocked out, they were getting messy, and just trying to create good footage.
Could you surf? Could you surf?
Couldn't leave the house.
Oh, you were probably skitzing it.
Yeah, and it was weird because it was in Sydney. The house was in Double Bay, like Darling Point, a beautiful, huge mansion. But it kind of made it harder because I sometimes would drive past places where I was making me homesick, and I was missing my mates, my family. So that obviously you had no contact to them, and it was just literally the gym, the house, the gym, the house, Jesus. The same group of blokes. Conversation was going pretty dry, and and then as guys leaving the competition, they were getting the piss and carrying on like nitwits and just trying to irritate everyone. So that was hard. Just being that pressure cooker,
and just sticking on track.
That groundhog day.
How long was it for? Like how long were you?
6 weeks.
That's a long time.
And it was like George Soteropoulos, who was our coach. He was he's pretty old school. He was just like train every day, no days off. You know what I mean? Like, he had me doing like soft like sand dunes down at Cronulla like the day before my fight. Like, and so it was just like it was a grind,
Non-stop.
And like the actual training experience and the mates and the camaraderie we made, and even the Pommy guys that who were in there in the Irish, I still stay in contact with a few of them. There was some great guys. So it was a great experience. Harder for many reasons I didn't expect, but rewarding as well. So it was unreal.
And Rob Whittaker, we touched on it before. Obviously, he went through and won the whole competition. Became the champion, the UFC champion. Lost his belt to Adesanya, but still he's in the top 2, top 3 now in his division. Could you tell back then that he was going to be the champion he is today, or?
I was always, he always had this little X factor. Like he had this laser beam focus and this not an arrogance, cockiness, but like just this belief that like we were in the house with these English fellas and Irish fellas, and they were huge. Like the welterweights were so much bigger than our welterweights. Yeah, and they were brash and they were cocky and they were scary looking fellas, and they were like you could see them training sometimes, and man, like they had a much bigger pool to pick from than we did. Obviously, they obviously not just one country, but they had Ireland as well, and the whole United Nation, United Kingdom. So they had this like a little bit more of an aura about him, you know.
Yeah.
He said quiet Rob, who was just soft spoken, stuck to himself. But every time a fight came around, we became good mates in the house, and I'd be helping him cut weight, and I'd go up and make him a smoothie after he made weight, and he'd just sit in his room and just be like, "I want to murder this cunt. I want to murder this cunt." And he wasn't saying it in front of a crowd to be like, it was just me and him. Like I was giving him his smoothie or getting like, just helping him out so he could like recoup after making weight. And he just, mate, I want to hurt this fucker. And I was like, he was saying because he just believed it. And I was like, and you'd go in there and do exactly that.
He'd demolish them all.
And then, I was lucky enough to be in the UFC when Rob was in the UFC. So we were going to the same fights, and we were always cutting weight together, and we were training partners at that stage, and we had our same coaches. And he just had this like, just this cool, calm confidence, this self-belief. And, but as the fight got closer, and like after weighing, and even the lead up to like when he knew his opponent and he was around him, like he didn't want to talk to him. He was never rude or like talk trash, but he was like, I don't want to talk to him. I just want he was just like
in the zone,
laser focused to murder this bloke. And that
off
was
for
the same in the UFC. It was nothing ever personal.
Yeah.
But he just wanted, like he had the taste of blood in his mouth, and he just wanted to get out there and get the job done. And he did that all the way up until the welterweight gold. Sorry, middleweight gold. So it was amazing to see. And
good for the Aussie sport.
Huge. I mean, for the whole not Aussie, but obviously the NZ and this whole region. Now you look at guys coming out of New Zealand. You got Volk. Obviously here in Australia. Bam, Tyson.
Yeah.
Man, like our stable of fighters is huge now. All the boys in WA who just were on fire. Last month. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you mentioned before you fought at a few different weight classes in your time, which is quite impressive.
Yeah.
Which weight class did you feel the most natural?
Looking back, I got given my opportunity to fight in the UFC at flyweight, and I jumped at it knowing I could make the weight because I was making bantamweight pretty easy, like without cutting a whole lot of weight, without any really structured weight cut plan or nutrition plan. So actually in the house, I met their nutritionist, Dean Namasinga, who was a great guy, and post the house we stayed in contact. He goes, you'll make flyweight, mate. We could get a little plan going. Yeah. So when I was given the opportunity, I jumped at it, and I made flyweight every time. But I just noticed that the process of getting down there, it just took too much from me. Like I just really didn't enjoy training. The focus was always on the number on the scales, not the performance in the gym, and the stress was always about my weight, not really like how I'm feeling and my my approach to the fight. So looking back and obviously fighting at lightweight, my ideal weight is bantamweight. It's not it's a little bit of a cut, but I'm enjoying training all the way up until fight day. I've only got to focus on my weight cut like the week of the fight, and even then it's not a stretch to get down to 62. And since then I fought at after the UFC I fought again at bantamweight, and it was great. And then I even jumped in and made it my pro boxing debut, which was around that weight. It was like 63 and a half, which was just easy, So you can really enjoy the whole fight camp, and I mean that's why I started fighting in the first place. I love the training. I love everything about it. Getting down to flyweight, it took all that from it. I was just some days I was just dreading getting out of bed and going on training, and I was always just looking at the clock like, when's this session going to finish so I can have my blueberry and almond lunch or something.
You're always hungry as well. You're
always hungry.
Please give me food. Food. Obviously. You ended up fighting in the UFC, had 4 fights, and you won one of them as well. Yeah,
I got the nod over.
So forever a UFC fight winner.
It was tough, mate. It was I got a win over New Zealand, which was great, and then I let one slip here in Sydney, which
that one,
that still stings because Lewis Smolk, he's a great competitor from Hawaii, and sort of had that one in the bag until the third round when he caught me with a head kick.
Just out of nowhere. It was like 10 seconds in or something.
Yeah, it came straight through my guard, so hats off to Lewis. And and then and there's a few fights where like admittedly hats off to my opponent, my head just wasn't in it, and I just didn't mentally show up. So it's a whirlwind of emotions, stepping in the cage and trying to tick all those boxes and make sure everything's right come fight night. But I really enjoyed my run, and it's funny, like I'm a few years removed from it now, but at the time, like I was always regretful, you know what I mean? The fights I lost, and they really stung, and I could never really be happy with my career or happy with the way things turned out, because as my career sort of progressed, I kept moving the goalposts further and further back, and I didn't quite, I wanted to make a good run in the UFC, and I didn't quite get there, which left me like a little bit bummed out after. But then thinking back, like when I first started training and first started fighting MMA, if someone had said like, you want to make the UFC and get to win the UFC and do this, you'd be like, fuck off, no way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even then, as you said, as the career goes on, you keep moving the goalposts back. And now, and I've been a few years removed from it, I'm actually can sit back and like just really enjoy, the journey that was and all the experiences that came with it and the achievements as well. So
especially as well, like you look at the UFC now and the landscape of it, like it's so tough to make the UFC. And like you see the talent that even if they're at the bottom of the rankings, you go, Jesus, they are a baller and a half.
Mate,
like,
it is. It's it is the elite of the elite and it's cutthroat. Like, I just signed a new 4-fight contract. I signed a first 4-fight contract. Had a win-loss, and then I think a loss, and then they gave me, because even the loss against Smoker, like they said, almost got fired the night, so they gave me another 4-fight contract, which I was stoked with, and then went down to Melbourne for the Rousey fight and fought on that card, and that's just one of those ones I just didn't show up for, and then lost, and then just got cut. So it's like, it's cutthroat. So you not only do you have to go in there and perform, but it's all the added pressure of like, I felt like now's the time to put your absolute best performances on. What I mean? Which can sometimes can come out the bite in the ass, But it was, it's cutthroat. So the guys like Rob and the guys like Volk who have stayed, at the top and made it to the elite level of the division and stayed there and won the title, man, it's wild. It's such a huge achievement, and they got every killer in the world aiming at them. You know what I mean? And they're just knocking them off one by one and staying at the top. So the boys are on fire. Like I said, you Bam Bam Tyson. I mean, we got a list of fighters now that are just they're flying the flag so well. It's just great to be a part of it and just be a fan and watch it all go on.
Yeah, 100%. And just post your fighting career, Richie, I read that you're volunteering down at PCYC and stuff like. Yeah. How's all that going?
Mate, great. Me and a mate Lewis Regis and Wade Mathias from Shack Youth Services. Yeah. Lewis Regis has SRG Muay Thai at Alexandra on Botany Road. Yeah, it just came about. We were just doing stuff originally in the back of the surf shop down the beach. Just some young kids, just showing them some pads, and we made like a little makeshift boxing ring out of leg ropes. Yeah. And we started doing like a weekly thing, and Lewis started to come down and structuring the classes a bit better. And a mate of mine, Wade Mathias, who worked for the Shack Youth Services, got on board, and then the PCYC got wind of it, and then we started doing a program called the Back and Track program, which was just kids from like under 16 all the way down to like 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds who were just maybe down the best home life or getting a bit of trouble. Just introducing them to a little bit of routine, a bit of healthy eating, some healthy like habits in life in terms of training, and it was really good to be part of because we had some great results. We had some skeptical parents at the start, my kids get in trouble for getting a bit of riffraff. Why you teaching them how to fight? And then they saw the changes and what it brought into their child. About it, we all had to shake hands and bow at the end, and we all it's funny because the class wasn't just the kids from the program. The class was mixed with the whole general population class. Yeah. So, you could this little 16-year-old kid who thinks, he's king of the world and walking with his chest puffed out, and then there might be a 40-year-old, a 40-kilo little hairdresser there, girl who just like punches the shit out of you. It's a really good way of bringing a bit of humility into that. Those young kids who just maybe have not had that kind of experience before, and just change their perspective on life and introduce them to some people like Lewis and Wade, and the results were great, and some of the kids went to have amateur careers and really took it on, so it was awesome.
It must make you proud, like seeing that all the lessons that you sort of learned in your career that you can just pass them on and see them excel.
Yeah, and not in the lessons so much as a professional fighter, but just the lessons of what martial arts taught me. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was introduced martial arts a little bit later in life, like around my late teens, early 20s, and when I was getting into like a bit of dumb stuff myself, but with the introduction of martial arts, it really sort of changed my trajectory, and I'm forever grateful for that. So if I could introduce that to a kid who's 10, you know what I mean, who's getting into a bit of like riffraff or hanging with the wrong crowds, introduce them to like a whole new community, which involves like discipline and respect. Everyone shakes everyone's hands, and you're rolling on the mats, which like I said, you might be rolling at 10 and rolling around like a little 6-year-old who's like tying your knots. It's like it's really like humbling experience. So martial arts and whatever kind of martial arts, whether it be Muay Thai, karate, they're great for the kids, great for people of any walk, any age. I can't recommend them enough. So it's great to try and open that door to some kids who may never even know was there.
Yeah, 100%. And if you had to give one piece of advice to, young Australian fighters coming through, like what would it be?
Yeah, like don't let the fear of failure get in the way. You know? Don't let don't let that. Don't. It's all experience. You know what I mean? And don't take opportunities and also do it for the right reasons. I see a lot of young kids sort of get into MMA or want to get into MMA. I think for the wrong reasons. You've got to be in it because you really love it, and it's got to come from like an intrinsic drive. You know? I think I see a lot of young kids say they want to get involved in MMA or do try to get involved in MMA for the glitz and the glamour and to say they're an MMA fighter and the reputation that may bring or whatnot. But the reality of actually getting that position and then get into a professional career and taking it seriously and the training and the commitment and the sacrifice it involves, it's a hard slog, and the results aren't going to come your way if you're not doing it for the right reasons, So, don't let the fear of failure sort of prevent you from giving it a crack. And then if you do choose to do it, I think make sure the reasons as to why you do it, make sure they're pure and for yourself, Don't try to do it to impress anyone else.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Well, we're going to do a bit of a game, bit of a segment now.
Let's do it.
It's pretty much a rip-off of Would You Rather. We call it this or that. So we'll give you two scenarios and you choose which one you would rather do. So the first one, win by submission or by KO?
I'd have to say KO. Like KO, there's no. But then again, like if you're some of those submissions out there, like if there's some pretty slick submissions, I've ebbed and flowed to what kind of craft I've enjoyed more. Like sometimes I just love my striking and my kickboxing, my Muay Thai, and I just like daydream about these kind of knockouts. And then I'm like, at the moment, I'm just loving my grappling. I'm helping coach out at Gracie Botany, and I'm loving my no-gi again. I want to compete in no-gi. And so like now, if you ask me now, I'll probably say some kind of slick submission, some that I'm playing around with, and I'm like, I'd love to pull this off in the comp. But I think there is something like, there's no misunderstanding about a knockout. You know what I mean? It's just clean cut, black and white. Someone with no fight experience can walk away and know exactly what happened, Yeah, where submission, some people are like, what the fuck happened?
Exactly. All right, next one, have a glass chin or a weak ground game?
I'd rather a weak ground game for sure. Glass chin you're born with, I think, and you can't work on that. Weak ground game you can improve. Chins you can't change.
That's all right. MMA or surfing?
Surfing.
All
day.
We thought that, we're like, we're just going to throw it in.
Martial arts will be a part of my life until I'm old and grey. But MMA, and I'll always be a fan of it, but it does come with a toll on your body, you know what I mean? And I still love sparring. I still love kickboxing, boxing, and like I said, I'm loving my grappling at the moment. But MMA, to actually compete and training, there'll be a stage where it would probably just be hitting the pads and a bit of grappling. But surfing, I'll be out there. I think.
So you're 70 on a board.
Maybe when I'll be out there just, who knows, just on a goat boat or something. Now just calling people off.
Perfect. Well, these ones are all surfing now. So here we go. Surf alone at a secluded spot or with a group of friends at a crowded break?
That's a tough one. That's
what we do here. We give that's great. It's not easy.
Because I'd probably go with my mates, just because it is so much fun to surf with your mates. If the waves are good and it's crowded, it can make up for it. If the way, and if you get amazing waves on a secluded beach just by yourself, as great as that would be, you can't share it with anyone. It's kind of, you get one wave with mates and you can share it, or you can watching your mates get the wave of their life. It's pretty special too. So both take it with mates.
Okay, mates. All right, last one for this or that. Live on a beach but not be able to surf, or live 6 hours away from any beach and be able to surf?
6 hours.
Yeah, probably 6 hours is too much. My uncle said this like when I was a kid. He goes, like, he knew, you could see I was love surfing. He goes, Rich, rest of your life, you're always only gonna live on the coast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, there's so much land to choose to live, so many different countries. But and he was right. I could never live off the coast. So, like I said, I love spearfishing. I love fishing. I love swimming. Maybe I'll take up bodyboarding.
He's found the loophole, Jim. What do we do?
Yeah, I'm looking for loopholes, but I can't live too far away from the coast, mate. I'd go stir crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, look, we thank you very much for coming on so far. Final segment. It's the Richie Vas Quiz.
How well do you know yourself?
We do 5 questions. It's with all our guests. So normally they get 3. I reckon's the average. So you just got to get 3. All right. All right. First question. You ready?
A bit.
You ready?
Hit me.
All right. How many collective minutes have you fought in the UFC? So total up all the fighting minutes against Goggins, Sanjay-Chan, Smolka, and Martinez.
How many? Okay.
Collective minutes. Add them all up.
What's that? There's like just the fighting minutes or the rounds as well?
The fighting minutes.
All right. So it's 15.
Yeah. Two went to distance.
What's that? 15. That's 30, 40. 40 and say another 5. So 45.
Mate, 45 minutes and 1 second. That is good. That is
math. I'm good at math.
That is good.
2,701 seconds to be specific. Mate, that's good. You got that bang on.
Yeah,
all right,
good.
That's a tick. Number 2, how many UFC events have there been in Australia? So not including the FX or the fight night. So just UFC.
The big numbered events.
The big numbered events.
Oh, well, Perth was a numbered event, eh?
Yep.
Melbourne was a numbered event.
Sydney a few times.
Numbered event, Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney. I think.
Right.
I'll give you a clue.
Brisbane?
One of them
Was Brisbane?
Brisbane was one.
What's that for? I want to say 6.
Oh, 7.
Seven.
7. So you had 110, 127, 193, 221, 234, 243, and 284. So I think the most recent one just clicked you over in Perth with Volk.
Yeah. That was a cracker.
That was cracker. All right. Number 3. Since you're from Maroubra, I'm from Maroubra. I had to throw a Maroubra question in. So what does Maroubra translate to in the Aboriginal language?
Oh, is it a place of thunder?
That's exactly it. So Maroubra is an Aboriginal word for like thunder, and the area was so called from the heavy and sometimes wild surf pounding against the rock. Sounds like thunder.
Yeah.
All right, it's 2 out of 3, Jim. Jim, you give him number 4.
All right. What is the longest MMA streak you've had in your career?
Longest MMA.
Win streak.
Win streak, yeah.
I think I went 4-1 and then I fought for the CFC bantamweight title and got beat by Gustavo. Then I went from there. Then I went all the way up into the smashes. So what would that have been? From Gustavo.
He's got it.
Through the
He's
smashes.
down.
I can't remember what that was, but 6 fights? 5 fights?
5
5.
fights.
We'll give you
We'll
5.
we'll give you that.
Yeah.
5 fights. So it was Byrne, Taylor Smith, Wong, Honstein, and Jaggers. So that was between July 2010 and August 2012.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that was a fun run.
2 years of no one beating you. How good. All right, final question. You've already passed 3.
Yep.
Your documentary featuring yourself and Mark Matthew, Fighting Fear, came out in 2011. So what is the IMDb rating out of 10 it's currently sitting on?
What's an IMDb rating?
So it's basically a rating that all these audience and critics can rate it out of 10.
Oh, yeah. What's that like?
It's just online.
Sour grapes? I don't know. Apple
Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah.
Sour
So
grapes.
it's
No, it's pretty much like that, but it's just like the critics version of it.
Okay,
Sort of
what's
thing.
it sitting on now?
Yeah,
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Out of 10? Just above average, I'll say 6.
Oh, mate, higher.
7.
Higher.
8.
Lower.
7.5.
7.5.
75%. That's
Yeah, it's
all right.
very good. So, for reference,
Cara de Souza.
yeah, exactly. There's movies
all.
sitting at 7.4 and below, like Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix, The Hunger Games, The Talented Mr. Ripley, and Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Richie Vas is beating Tom Cruise,
So they reckon, this
Matt
one.
Damon.
where's me Logie?
Oh, mate, where is it?
That's it.
Mate, you did well. We'll give you 3.5 there.
3.5.
That's not bad.
That's a pass.
That's a pass. And final thing we always do with all our guests, you've seen Hasbulla over your left shoulder there. Yeah, get him out. We get all our guests to sign the back of Hasbulla. So
Grab your pen.
we got a texter.
We're
Yeah,
in the same weight class.
you can pick your spot. Yeah, you would have fought Hasbulla.
Wherever you want.
Yeah, so you ink your name with Gay Waterhouse. I think there's Tommy Berry there. Richie Vas, beautiful. Mate, you're always there.
Big Hasbullah. Thanks, boys.
No worries. And
Before you go-
what's your go-to Maccas order?
Yeah.
You know what? When I was cutting weight, I used to just just daydreaming just about rubbing Maccas all over me. I used to live like behind KFC here, up Pagewood, on Mason Street. I could just smell in the southerly just KFC. So I would just wet dream between KFC and Maccas, and I just I haven't touched it in years. But after a fight, I'll just go get chocolate thick shakes with chicken burgers and just everything, mate. It's gross and like as a big of a glutton as you could be. And I'd get a KFC feed with that. So I'd be mixing cheeseburgers with like chicken meals and. Yes, no, it was never pretty. Yeah. I can always say like my go-to meal because whenever I was there, I was just a pig and
just whatever you can get.
Yeah, I'd smear my face in it.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Well, we thank you very much for coming on. It was a great chat, and hopefully we speak again sometime soon.
Thanks for having us on, boys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.